So today I'm delighted to say that I'm in conversation with Chris Dixon, author of That's Okay, a book to talk about feelings and to nurture your child's mental health. Now, That's Okay is a really lovely book that encourages children to talk with you about their feelings, and emotions can be quite strange for adults and for some children to open up and talk about. So I always think reading a book can often start those big conversations with little people, and those lovely colourful creatures in That's Okay really will help you do that. And as we continue, let's face it, to navigate life beyond the pandemic, it is really important, I think, to support children's social and emotional awareness by building their language and their communication skills, and to create an open and safe place to talk about how we're feeling. Because emotional literacy for me is the ability to understand, to express, and to cope with all sorts of emotions. It's a skill for children to learn, and they will develop it as they grow, and you will help nurture it. And this lovely book, I believe, is a great place to start. So welcome, Chris. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, pleased to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
So listen, tell us about yourself a little bit and about your journey and what led up to you writing this lovely book.
Yeah, so it stems primarily from mental health issues that I've had in the past. There's been instances where I've suffered from chronic pain as a result of depression and anxiety. And yeah, going to find therapy, which I've been fortunate to go through, and it highlighted areas that I didn't really originally understand, which stem back to my childhood. And it was based around the awareness of emotions and how certain emotions feel and how you react to certain situations. And growing up as a boy within our culture, we're never really, well, from my age, we were never really taught about emotional awareness. To be upset and cry, or to get angry and yell was seen as kind of unprofessional, when it's a completely natural feeling. So yeah, the book came from an idea from the therapy sessions where I wanted to help children know that it is perfectly acceptable to have a certain emotion, and it doesn't need to be a positive one such as happiness. It could be jealousy, because we shouldn't be fighting these emotions and suppressing them, because I feel that leads to other problems later in life, where it just builds up, and we can become mentally unwell in areas with depression and anxiety. And about building their confidence too, so they can talk to their parents. They don't need to feel like they need to hide certain emotions. So I think communication is key, and we need to take down the stigma of feeling in what's perceived a negative way, such as like if something upsets you in the workplace, and you wanted to cry, you're not allowed to do that in the current culture. You're worried that it might affect your job and you might lose work as a result. And I think we need to change the narrative so other people are more comfortable when people show emotions. I think as a child, you're like a sponge when you're a child, and you absorb so much knowledge. And I think it's a good time to teach children about that, and they can be kind to their friends and help them understand emotions too, and build better relationships as a result.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, certainly with toddlers, it's about coping with those big emotions, and then it's about helping them learn to manage them. Because if you're angry, it's not about lashing out, it's about accepting, yes, I'm angry, but it's what you teach your children to do with those strong emotions, I think, is the other part of what you're saying, which is very important. And so talking and teaching and listening and exploring those sorts of strong emotions with children is really important, and I think your book helps with that. You wrote the book, what age is it for, really?
It's around 4 to 8 year olds, but I've done a couple of preschool readings online for 3-year-olds, and I've received good feedback that either side of those ages is quite relatable, and a few adults have said, oh, this has helped me understand as well. So yeah, 4 to 8 is the marketed age range, but I definitely think it can help younger and older children and parents and teachers and others in child professions.
Yes, absolutely. Counsellors, therapists, all that sort of thing. It's like my Can Do Kid Journal is the same sort of thing. It's 7 to 13s, but actually with a bit of support, it can be, you know, much younger kids, or actually older children, or children with additional needs with a bit of support. So, you know, it's a lovely place to start. And I think your book is so lovely. And I love your illustrations. I just think they're super. So tell us about the emotions that you cover. What sort of things do you talk about in the book?
Yeah, of course. So there's 15 emotions in total.
Wow.
So to name a few, there's happy, there's sad, there's jealous, anger, boredom, because we all know children get bored quite easily, but they
That's
might
a
not.
good one.
They might not necessarily, like in my experience, communicate that they're bored. You know, they could. You know, they might act in a different way, like they might be thinking they're angry, but they're actually bored, or they might think they're upset, but you know, they just want to do something and
They want
spend time with their
connection
family.
sometimes. They're not sure what to do. Again, it depends on their ages, isn't it? But so you cover quite a wealth of emotions, and you also then give scenarios, don't you, a little bit? Tell us about those.
Yeah, so I wanted to create it in the style of a practical guidebook, because I've seen a lot of books out there which are very story based, which is you know, they're fantastic for narrative behind certain topics, but I hadn't seen anything that a child could read and think, oh, I feel like I've got a bit of a headache, maybe I'm upset, maybe it's because I've been crying. So I think everyone has their own experiences with emotions, so I tried to go for feelings that are quite universal. So yeah, like jumping up and down when you're excited, kind of these visual cues that you might see in other people, and also physical symptoms that that could relate to that certain emotion, in a hope that the child or the parent would read that and they'll be able to identify that in the future, and hopefully open up communications about it, and how they can like address it if a child is upset. Yeah, so just it's like a guidebook to easily identify emotions, and yeah, open up the conversation as a result with others.
Well, what I also like is you've got some colouring books alongside it. Tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, so my uncle, he was a printer, and he came up with the idea for a
Yeah.
colouring book version. Yeah, and I thought it was fantastic, because from a young age I was very creative, but ironically I was never very good at colouring. I always got my mum to colour him. So I used to draw a lot as a child, and that
Yeah.
it kind of went away in my teens, and I think that's when a lot of mental health issues started to develop. After that, I didn't really have a hobby, and then it came back later on in life. And yeah, just encouraging creativity through the colouring, I think,
Yeah.
is a great activity.
Yes.
And I built upon that. There's a QR code in the colouring book where parents can upload the photo of the colouring pages and sent off to me, and I hope to build a community by sharing that on social media, and kind of,
Oh,
yeah, so it's building
lovely.
up the confidence of children. It's
Yes.
online, you know, your coloring's really good,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I think creativity is such a therapeutic thing, and yeah, I
Yeah.
think that children to embrace that is amazing, and I'm just want to encourage that and come up with their own ideas. So in the colouring book there's also blank spaces where they can write how they feel, so that
Wonderful.
ties into us discussing about the kind of universal feelings of emotions. People are unique in the ways that they might feel about something, so I guess it's like a journaling kind of thing, which you'd find as an adult in therapy. They'd ask you to journal things. So it's kind of teaching children that you know, it's okay to feel this and document that, and you can also show your parents or your teachers as like, this what makes me feel anxious, for example. Yeah, so just trying to tie all these different cues into the literature to build upon the ideas and the conversation.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, big conversations with little people, if you're doing something else, like with young children, if you're colouring, it's not so intense. You're colouring or you're reading the book, you're doing something, and then you can have the conversations alongside it. It's the same sort of principle with teenagers. You know, you have those big conversations when you're driving a lot of the time, or washing up. You're doing something else. So it's not too intense and a bit embarrassing as they get older, but going alongside them so the conversations flow more naturally. That's why I think they're lovely. I know that you do have a blog, don't you? What sort of stuff do you write about on there?
So yes, mainly emotionally based articles for parents with young children, because I'm no expert in psychology, so I just kind of write from my own viewpoint, not as a kind of this is how to do this, but these are my experiences or my opinions on stuff, and people can read that and see if they relate to it.
Yes,
Yeah,
very relatable. That's the whole
yeah,
point, really, that we're all in this together. There's no stigma. We're chatting about it. And I've tried this, perhaps you might like that. It's all, you know, supporting kids with their well-being and their mental health as well. I know that you've got stickers, which I really like. Tell us a bit more about them. And can you buy them as a batch with different ones, or do you have to buy all the one emotion?
currently they are just one emotion each, but yeah, I mean, I like talking to friends and family, like with my uncle's colouring book idea, and a friend of mine also mentioned, like you just said, about a batch, so
Yeah.
children can put the stickers on items. Like it might be, you know, I like this toy, I put a happy sticker on that, or I get bored by the newspaper, put a sticker on that,
Or they
annoy
could
the
wear how they're
dads.
feeling today, couldn't they? I know you've got
Yeah.
T-shirts as well. Tell us a bit about the T-shirts.
Yeah, so like, climate change and the environment is something that impacts all of us. And
Yeah.
recently, I've been trying to make more moves in my life to lower my carbon footprint. And I came across a t-shirt company that they print on demand, and it's all organic t-shirts. Yeah, they've got a nice feel and they're comfortable, and I love getting my artwork out there. Like my main passion is drawing, and I started a t-shirt business a few years ago, where I did like illustrations, where I asked people like in competitions, I'll give an idea and I'll draw it up, and it just seemed like a logical thing to tie in with the
Yeah,
books as well.
absolutely. Yeah, it's lovely because children can then, you know, even if you had a couple of them, you could stick on how you're feeling today. You could stick on the different things.
Yeah,
There's all
yeah.
sorts of potential around the stickers and the T-shirts and all the rest of it, sure. So what's next for you? What are you currently working on?
So yeah, the next book I'm working on is called That Surf Amazing. So I'm using the same style to address climate issues,
Yeah,
but in like a positive way that
yeah,
doesn't frighten children, because I know there's quite a bit of anxiety around at the minute, where I feel that some parents, they're worried about talking to their children about, you know, what is happening to the planet and stuff. They you know, they don't want them to be saddened by it. So kind
yeah.
of making another practical guide, a proactive guide, where you've got the colorful creatures about like items like recycling, or just switching the telly off after you've used it to save energy.
Yes, yeah.
um yeah, so that's next on the agenda.
Well, we'll have to interview about that next time because I love it. I love your
Nice.
artwork. I mean, that's what's so compelling is, you know, it's so attractive and people can then take it from there and chat about it. So I'm looking forward to that one coming out as well. I think that's just so great. And to get those sort of conversations going without scaring kids, you're right. So tell
Yeah.
us, how do people find your website and where are you on social media? How do they buy your book, basically?
Yeah, so the website that people can buy the digital versions and the physical print versions, as well as the colouring book. So that's okay.co.uk. So OKAY. So that's probably the best place to purchase. I'm reaching out to independent bookstores to see if I can get it stocked in there as well. And then most of my social media is under Little Fish Digital, so because I'm also a freelance marketer, so I'm kind of tying it all in and trying to use my marketing knowledge to the best of my ability.
Well,
but like
we'll
you
pick
said,
your brains on that one in the Sue Atkins Book
yeah,
Club,
cheers,
because obviously you're a member of that, and we're quite a vibrant community, so we'll have to pick your brains on that side of it too. But Chris, I love your book. I love your colouring. I love all the imagery and all the stuff, the stickers, the t-shirts, and all these conversations, and I look forward to your next book as well. So do go and have a look if you're listening to this. Really lovely ways to start conversations and help children with their long-term mental health. We start young and therefore we grow up healthy, don't we? So thanks, Chris, for joining me today.
Cheers, Sue. Thank you. That's brilliant.